Joining us now is the president of the OWTU Point-a-Pierre branch, Mr. Christopher Jackman. Pleasant good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Mikey. Good evening, listeners.
Thank you, comrade. I want to just go back a bit to the Labor Day march and rally, where PSA President Leroy Baptiste, Comrade Baptiste, said that the government wants to emasculate the trade union movement. Government is not even acknowledging the trade unions where there's union representation in the public sector. Government attitude is take it or leave it. And when we talk about take it or leave it, we have to focus, of course, on the refinery. Last night we had economist Dr. Roger Hossain on, and he spoke about how important the refinery will be, of course, to our economy. We're talking about the OWTU trade union that represented the more than 5,000 workers that were sent home in November 2018. Where are we at currently looking at things?
All right. I'm glad you started at this topic. Our branch, as you said in the introduction, I am still the president of the Point-a-Pierre branch of the OWTU. I would have had direct oversight of the Point-a-Pierre branch, which would be the refinery and the port. All right. As it is, I have to agree 100% with Mr. Baptiste, with Comrade Baptiste. Why we can say that is because of what we would have observed from the time present to now, where anytime you attempt to engage in negotiations or discussions with this government, what we see happening in Trini Palance is a pappy show, where they will put forward something to the union or to the members, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So, for example, I just want to give a couple examples because I don't want people to feel as though I'm a political sycophant. All right? There has been 3 draws done recently regarding distribution of lands for Petrotrin workers. All right? This is one issue that is quite prevalent on the table at this time. And they would have gone across the country informing persons that Petrotrin workers would have been given and entitled to land as part of their termination benefits. They would have called approximately 270 names. And we would have identified that complaints coming from our members would have said that so far they haven't really been contacted by the LSA. So we took it upon ourselves to go to the LSA and make a request through Freedom of Information. And it was confirmed that since 2018, since the closure, not one lease title would have been prepared by the Commissioner of State Lands and distributed to a Petrotrin worker.
You're saying since 2018?
Since 2018 to present, not one worker of Petrotrin has received a title in their hand, stating that they are now the owner of a piece of land. This is one of many examples that we see that the government comes out, sells a narrative, and does absolutely nothing. The disrespect is clear for all to see. And what surprises us the most is that what they have skillfully managed to do is to turn the average worker, not only Petrotrin workers, but the average worker against trade unions. And we have to put a stop to that.
Yeah, but Comrade, I don't mean to cut you, Comrade Jackman. You're right. I mean, when you look at it, it's just blatant disrespect. And from the perspective, well, basically what we as citizens look at and have been saying to ourselves is that why is OWTU being so disrespected? I mean, why are they being treated with such, basically no sort of acknowledgement for the work and all that they have done. When you look at what the finance minister said, especially going back to the OWTU's patriotic bid, he made it quite clear after the previous tender was described by him as having no commitment, no funding, no time frame, no terms. But you guys went back and you prepared all of that. You spent a lot of money as far as getting a financial and technical analysis put together. That's a lot of money.
Yes. It is.
And we're asking ourselves, why is OWTU just accepting this? Why are they taking this blatant disrespect by an administration? And again, going back to the words of Comrade Batiste, that is hell-bent on emasculating the trade union sector. Why?
Well, I can answer that simply as this. We of the OWTU, while yes, trade union business is our primary concern, I am very proud to follow a leader that speaks openly regarding all issues of Trinidad and Tobago, not just dollars and cents. He speaks out against crime. I don't know if you remember as well, when we were under the pandemic situation, he would have led through JTOM the My Body, My Choice protest action. So because of that, because of his open commentary towards the performance of the government, we receive a lot of hate and a lot of flack. Now, the President General is fearless. He would have been the one that made the statement where he told the multinationals to take their rig and go. And since that time to present, the attacks on the OWTU has continued and persisted. When it comes to this issue of the refinery, if persons can throw their mind back, when we originally won the bid, it came with conditions, and those conditions were read out in Parliament. And this is what people tend to forget.
Right.
And part of those conditions were allowing us to, yes, pay for the turnaround works, but not having to pay within a certain period of time. With those commitments made, we would have made certain arrangements with our financiers. And that was what they spun to convince the public that we did not have financing at that time, or financing was insufficient. So, as it is the business of the union to look out for its members. And we know, based on the 5,000 plus workers that would have lost their jobs, that we need to do everything possible to regain employment for those comrades. So we will do, and we will go after every opportunity to secure the asset and to bring it back and keep it within Trinidad and Tobago.
And I want to applaud you for that. I really and truly want to applaud you for that. And that's what I wanted to make sure, and I'm sure many people who are locked on, whether or not you're going to simply back down, you're going to retreat, you're going to surrender, because it doesn't make sense. When you look at the history, it's older than you and I, I'm sure. When you go back to George Weeks and all the struggles and everything, yes. And again, fighting another PNM administration back then. Okay, so history has a way of repeating itself. But you're talking about Navin Jindal, the owner of Jindal Steel and Power Limited, who seems to be the preferred person that this administration wants to do business with the refinery. And more stuff keeps coming out. And I want to share with you and, of course, the public. After Jindal was charged in connection with the so-called coal scam, he needed the court's official permission to travel abroad. Right? And that's one of the things. Number two, when he jumped from one political party to another, his former group had some choice words for him. Jindal needs a giant-sized washing machine. And this came from the Congress General Secretary, Jairam Ramesh. That's what he said. Ramesh said that Jindal made zero contributions to the party in the last 10 years, and that his resignation is a big joke. And they spoke about the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi of allowing corrupt people to flee to his embrace. And it goes on. Jindal's company was involved in an appalling US $2.1 billion contract dispute in Bolivia, where he was due to mine iron ore. And Jindal was contracted to set up an integrated steel plant that would have generated 12,000 jobs and earn US $200 million a year for the government of Bolivia. He was assured 50% of the profits, and it goes on, and these things are coming out. And it makes you wonder, this is more than just a slap in the face. This is a serious black eye, because you're telling me you're not considering your own. And the underlining of this, of course, is always selling this entire thing as being the black man and comrades and what have you. But all of that was bypassed, all of that was circumvented, and you made Navin Jindal the #1 player for what belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, and let me just comment on this. What I'm saying here is going to be my opinion, all right? the President General, Comrade Roger, would have made it clear that from what he saw, this is a scandal that is about to take place. Because let's just remind Trinidad that on the 10th of May, 8 bidders would have been required to submit formal bids in their application to acquire the asset. This process is being overseen by the Scotia Capital branch in Houston. So which means TPHL has paid money for an international body to oversee and assess and give their commentary on these 8 bids. And then after that date, the 10th of May, we have this photo of the Prime Minister and Mr. Jindal speaking to the refinery. Now, I am not sure where this is going, but to me, this appears to be a big smokescreen by this government. The reason why I can say that with confidence is because they would have been very much aware of the bidding process that is currently ongoing. And you would never really see the PM, if you throw your mind back to the Delcy Rodriguez situation and all of that, coming out in the open and taking pictures to discuss this. To me, if he goes along with this refinery situation with Jindal, that is definitely a scandal. But at this point in time, I realized yesterday you had Dr. Badeau.
Yes,
See, that particular issue with that report, that report on the death of the children in the hospital, that particular issue right now should be the top main burner, because there's no way I can see Mr. Diyal Singh escaping culpability on that. Right? But this government has a skillful way of using these issues to deflect and avoid certain areas that they don't want you to focus on. This Jindal issue is definitely serious if it is true. But I believe that in the next couple months, that they will make a statement announcing one of the current 8 bidders as being successful. And I am pretty much sure that, again, they will not even consider the OWTU going forward. I'm quite sure that they will not do it. But albeit, it is our responsibility to still try our best to see how we can acquire that asset for our members and for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. But let's not be too distracted by the PNM antics. They're very, very good at that.
Yeah, but every day it seems as though someone is saying, I don't believe this is going to play out. I don't believe that I don't think the government has the audacity to. But time and time again, we've seen that they are going to push the envelope as much as we, the people, allow them to. Because we're talking right now, we're in the month of July, we're at 298 murders for the year. And all we're hearing about is Gary Griffith. We're not hearing much about this PAHO report. And when we do hear about it, as you mentioned, the minister is talking about these babies. A lot of them were born premature, as if now we're throwing the babies under the bus. So,
exactly.
I don't think that at this point in time we could ever be surprised by anything that this government is allowed to get away with. So when we talk about we don't think they're going to make that move, I believe, like many other citizens, we are confident that they are willing to get away with whatever they can at the cost to us, the citizens of this country.
And that, if that occurs, that will be a scandal of great proportions. It will be. But as you rightfully said, this government thus far, nothing will surprise me. They have a track record of delivering zero things to benefit the average man in this country. And I believe that they have reached a point now where they really don't care. Their focus is primarily on attacking the UNC as an entity, because they know the UNC alone stands the best chance of removing them from power.
Yeah, again, it really hurts me. And looking at some of the writings here, just taking something from my good friend, veteran Ken Ali, he said that Jindal's takeover of the plant is a complete about turn for TNT's petrochemical industry, which was nationalized 40 years ago, following a relentless campaign by OWTU and then led by hardliner George Weeks. Weeks had crusaded for years against the then PNM government for the commanding heights of the economy to be owned by nationals. And again, as we say, history repeating itself, the OWTU is not good enough. the people, the main stakeholders, are also not good enough to own what belongs to them. 5,000 plus people affected. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of dreams coming out closer and closer to the election, general election. In the meantime, OWTU moving forward, what's on the agenda?
Moving forward, the objective is clear, as stated by the President General. We are now on a unity drive. It is clear that this government is not only anti-worker, anti-union, they are also anti-worker. All right, and I want to emphasize that. We know that you would have had Roger Hussain on the show yesterday, and he would be advocating strongly for the restarting of the refinery. But he was also one of the big advocates at the time who would have been strongly in support of the government for shutting down the assets. I notice now he's quite vocal about Jindal and accepting the funds from Jindal for restarting the asset. I just want to say we need to be very careful about persons whose narrative and whose discussions fall very much in line with the discussions of the government. All right? I want to say that this government has shown with the diverse situation, with how they dealt with the death of the worker at Naikwan, with how they deal with negotiations, with how they deal with crime on the whole and criminality, that their priority is not on the working class of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Right? So all in all, it is our intention going forward to ensure that we do everything possible to unite all opposition forces against the PNM to remove them from power at the next general election.
Thank you
and
so
if this
much.
government knows what is good for them, they will call it soon. Because the longer they wait, is the worse it will get.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jackman. Keep up the good work, and we'll be checking in with you periodically. Best of luck to you and your entire team.
All right. Thank you very much, Mikey. Thank you very much, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you.